Africa's big economic puzzle is why a continent so rich in human and natural resources can't bring lasting stability and growth to its 700 million people. Many are now looking to private enterprise for one solution, but the obstacles to homegrown business are huge.
Essentially, we haven't seen the growth of a small and medium-sized enterprise class in much of Africa. And we haven't seen the inward flow of foreign investment to help stimulate the growth of that class. So that essentially we're left in many African states with the government being sometimes almost 50% of the employment, formal employment, being supported by the other 50% informal employment, paying taxes, whereas most, in fact, are outside formal employment altogether in a subsistence economy, or many are in the subsistence economy, relying essentially on Western aid. And that is not sustainable.
Stimulating enterprise may be hard in countries with poor infrastructure or corruption problems, but it's not impossible. There have been plenty of business ideas from NGOs over the decades, but most have depended on Western aid. The thinking now is how to create a self-reliant business class, however small scale. And a great deal of excitement has been generated by technology, in particular the huge rise in the ownership of mobile phones all over Africa. One country that has embraced the digital revolution with enthusiasm is South Africa. One of its mobile franchise holders, Vodacom, was obliged as part of its contract to provide 22,000 subsidized handsets to people on low incomes. It responded by teaming up with individual entrepreneurs who sell on airtime, not from mobile handsets, but from fixed handsets inside freight containers linked to the mobile network. Each is a small business in its own right, and there's no shortage of enthusiastic local custom.
It's been changing our lives. Let's say your mother is sick and your father is living in Joburg. So with the old days, you were supposed to write a letter, and the letter will take 3 to 4 days to reach where you want to be. With the phone, you can take a phone right now and dial at the same time and tell them what the problem is, and they will find a solution to help.
And in the province of Limpopo, in rural South Africa, IT giant Hewlett-Packard has set up an iCommunity, a network of computing projects in schools, clinics, and small businesses aiming to pull the region's economy into the 21st century. HP gets valuable feedback from locals, and they in turn are getting a fast-track crossing of the digital divide.
It's not only that we're now working deeply with the community and all of the different communities that are within any geographic area, but we're working in all of the areas. So it's not just that you provide access or that you provide training or that you provide venture creation or microfinancing. They all live and feed off each other. It's that little ecosystem which can become a big ecosystem.
For most Africans, simply feeding themselves and their families is their main economic activity. But once again, business thinking is making a difference, even at the poorest levels of society. Honeycare Africa trains Kenyan smallholders as beekeepers and uses loans from aid donors to pay for the startup. Each farmer makes just enough from their honey, as little as $200 a year, to ride out the bad times. In Africa, that can be the difference between life and death.
The idea here was we had small-scale farmers in the country, most of whom owned less than 2 acres of land and were not able to take part in the agricultural economy. Beekeeping was one activity that made a lot of sense for them to get involved in. The objective here was to try and use donor funding wherever possible to provide loans to small-scale farmers, to get them involved in beekeeping.
What's unique about Honeycare Africa is that although donor funding provides the capital, the beekeepers pay interest on their loans and still make a profit. It's a rock-solid business case that is also scalable, a perfect model for African entrepreneurship. Another great hope for the poor right across the developing world is the microfinance movement. Social banking, often targeted at women, that uses peer pressure to encourage responsible borrowing. Widowed with 2 children, Patience Iyamu in Benin City in Nigeria survived a hand-to-mouth existence selling vegetables until she came into contact with a microfinance organization called LAPO. It makes small loans, to our ears minute, to over 20,000 poor women to set them up as entrepreneurs. And like so much in the developing world, a little can go an incredibly long way. With some seed capital, Patience first rented and then bought a grinding machine. Her income increased tenfold, and while she'll never be rich, she's created a level of security for her and her family she could never have expected before.
Over the years, one of the main achievements of microfinance has been to demonstrate that poor people are bankable, so that you can give a poor person a loan, they can use that money and they'll repay it. And typically microfinance organisations have repayment rates far, far in excess of conventional banks. So we could be talking about, in many cases, 99% repayment rates.
No one disputes the wealth of entrepreneurial creativity in Africa, but so far the big money has stayed away. In some countries that is slowly changing, and with new technology, the first signs of sustainable wealth creation could at last be not far away. Whether the business solution to Africa's economic puzzle is in sight is another question.